When people think about the fall of Rome, they usually imagine barbarian invasions, burning cities, collapsing walls. But the Roman Republic didn't fall because someone broke in from the outside. It fell because it slowly rotted from within. Not in one dramatic moment, not because of one villain, but because corruption stopped being an exception and became normal. And once that happens, collapse is just a matter of time. So today, let's talk about how corruption destroyed the Roman Republic, step by step. So here's the thing, the Roman Republic was actually designed to prevent corruption and dictatorship. After they kicked out their last king around 509 BCE, Romans were terrified of giving too much power to one person again. That fear shaped their whole political system. Instead of a king, they had two consuls. Each served only 1 year. Each could veto the other. That alone shows how abased they were with the balance. Then there was the Senate, made up mostly of elite families, and popular assemblies where citizens voted on laws and elected officials. On paper, it was brilliant. But here's the catch. The system didn't survive because of strong laws. It survived because of tradition. Romans followed something called mos maiorum, the way of the ancestors. It wasn't written down, it was more like honor code. Elite families were expected to behave with dignity, restraint, and loyalty to the state. And for a long time, that worked. But it worked mostly when Rome was just a powerful city-state in Italy. Once Romans started conquering massive territories, Spain, Greece, North Africa, parts of Asia, everything changed. The Republic was now managing a Mediterranean empire. But the political system was still built for a city. That mismatch created problems. Governors were sent to province with enormous power. They controlled taxes, they commanded armies, they handled legal disputes, and most importantly, they were far away from Rome. There was no modern oversight system, no professional bureaucracy, no independent auditing body. If a governor wanted to enrich himself, the temptation was huge. And slowly, corruption stopped being an exception and started becoming part of how the system worked. Let's talk about elections. Technically, Roman citizens voted, but realistically, running for office was extremely expensive. Candidates paid for public games, gladiator shows, festivals, fests, and sometimes even building projects. It looked generous, it looked patriotic. But it was also strategic. You weren't just entertaining people, you were buying goodwill. Direct bribery was illegal, but very common. Wealthy candidates would use intermediaries to distribute money quietly. There were entire networks designed to influence voting blocks. And here's the part that really changed politics. Many candidates borrowed massive amounts of money just to win office. Think about that. They went into debt for power. Why? Because once they became governor of a province, they could recover everything and more. So politics became a business model. Step 1. Spend huge money to win office. Step 2. Go governor a province. Step 3. Extract wealth aggressively. Step 4. Return to Rome richer and more powerful. It stopped being public service. It became investment and return. And when politics becomes about ROI instead of responsibility, the moral structure starts cracking. Now imagine you're Roman governor sent to rich province like Sicily or Asia Minor. You have legal authority, you control tax collection, you command troops, and oversight is weak. The temptation is obvious. Tax collection was often outsourced to private contractors called publicani. They paid Rome upfront for the right to collect taxes, and then they squeezed the population to make profit. Governors often cooperated with them. One famous example is Caius Verres, governor of Sicily. He didn't just collect extra taxes, he extorted cities, he stole art, he manipulated court cases, he abused his power openly. Cicero prosecuted him in 70 BCE. The evidence was so overwhelming that Verres fled before the trial even finished. But here the uncomfortable truth. Verres wasn't unique, he was just exposed. Most corruption stayed hidden, As long as the governor kept the province stable and sent money back to Rome, people looked the other way. That created a dangerous culture. To Roman elites, office meant enrichment. To provincials, Roman rules meant exploitation. And that kind of imbalance builds long-term instability. This is where things get serious. Originally, Roman soldiers were farmers. They served temporarily and then went home. Their loyalty was to Rome, but over time, small farmers were losing land to large estates owned by the elite. Wealth inequality was rising. Then came Gaius Marius around 107 BCE. He reformed the army and allowed landless citizens to enlist. The state equipped them, and after service they expected land, usually granted by their general. This changed everything. Now soldiers depended personally on their commander for rewards and retirement. So loyalty shifted. Instead of serving the republic, many soldiers felt loyal to the general who paid them and promised land. That made generals incredibly powerful. Sulla proved how dangerous that was. In 88 BCE, he marched his army on Rome, something previously unthinkable. He seized control and declared himself dictator. That broke a psychological barrier. After that, using military force in politics was no longer impossible. And once the door opens, it rarely closes. At the same time, economic inequality kept growing. Large estates, worked by slaves captured in wars, dominated agriculture. Small farmers couldn't compete. Many moved to Rome, unemployed and dependent on grain distributions. The city population exploded. Politicians started using food subsidies and public entertainments to keep people calm. Instead of fixing structural problems, they managed unrest. Reforms like Tiberius and Gaius Gracchus tried to redistribute land and limit elite power, but the Senate saw this as a threat. Both brothers were killed in political violence. That was a major turning point. Before this, political disputes were intense, but usually contained within institutions. After this, bloodshed became a political tool. Once violence becomes normal in politics, the republic is already weakening. By the time Julius Caesar rose to power, the system was already unstable. He used alliances, public popularity, debt networks and military success to climb the ladder. His partnership with Pompey and Crassus, the first triumvirate, wasn't official. It was a private power deal outside traditional structures. That alone shows how fragile the republic had become. After conquering Gaul, Caesar commanded a loyal, experienced army. When the Senate ordered him to disband his force and return to Rome as a private citizen, it wasn't just a legal request, it was political warfare. If he obeyed, he risked persecution. If he resisted, he started a civil war. In 49 BCE, he crossed the Rubicon. The civil war that followed wasn't just about Caesar, it was about a system that had already been hollowed out by ambition and corruption. Caesar eventually became dictator for life. Some supported him, some feared monarchy. In 44 BCE, he was assassinated, but instead of restoring the republic, his death triggered even more chaos, which shows something important. By the point, the republic wasn't functioning anymore. Removing one man couldn't fix it. The Roman Republic didn't collapse in one night. It decayed. Corruption didn't just steal money. It changed expectations, it changed loyalties, it changed behavior. By the time dictatorship emerged, many Romans were exhausted. Stability felt safer than chaos, and that might be the most important lesson. Republics don't usually die because people hate freedom. They die because corruption makes freedom unstable. And when instability becomes unbearable, people accept control. History doesn't repeat exactly, but it often rhymes. Thank you for watching and see you in next video. Memento vivere.